Hello everyone and welcome back to Unity of Command. This is the scenario Moscow Offensive. This is a standalone scenario from the Blackturn DLC and this is the first scenario we're playing standalone. It's not part of any campaign, so the only way to play it is to go into the scenario folder, which lists all the campaign scenarios as well. But both the base game and both DLCs have a couple of additional scenarios that you cannot access from anywhere else. So I guess a few people don't even know about this. This is going to be the first time, as I've said, we play this, and the only real difference is, between scenarios that are listed here and which are also part of the campaign. And the campaign option is that theoretically in the campaign you can accumulate prestige, so you can accumulate money that you can spend. However, since we never spend any prestige, then it's really actually nothing. So in theory the campaign scenarios are a tiny bit easier because you can accumulate the points, but here as I said, that's not really, doesn't really matter. Here of course that's not an option. And the other novelty about this one is that we're going to play as the Soviets. So this is the first time we are playing as the Soviets, which of course means that we need to employ quite different strategies and tactics. Moscow Offensive, December the 6th, 1941. The Germans are at the gates of Moscow, but they are under strength and exhausted. Stalin orders an offensive to push the Germans away from the approaches to Moscow. Right. All right. And the main difference is that obviously our troops are this time around are inferior overall to the enemy. So basically what you can see is that the equivalent units are not equivalent. So the infantry units are weaker than the German infantry units. Our best units are actually weaker than the best German units. But obviously our best units overpower the standard and especially the weak German ones. So this is listed as a medium, as a scenario with medium difficulty level, and I'd say that's roughly correct. It's of medium size as well. And you will see that the Soviets usually have a lot of time to capture their objectives because the blitzkrieg strategy doesn't really work. So you cannot rely on pushing your forces, your best forces ahead, and the infantry to mop up. And more so than ever before, you really need to rely on cutting off supply. Some of the German units are practically indestructible, like these tank formations here in the north, if you just want to bash against it. And another interesting thing is that, as usual, we have a lot of guns. And as you know, towed equipment does not work after shooting, after moving. So that means that you need to position these units accordingly, and because if you want to use them, they're actually pretty decent on the offensive as well, if they can shoot first before moving. So you need to keep that in mind. This makes for a relatively slow crawl forwards, by the way. All right. There is nothing new, no new mechanics introduced in this scenario. We have a couple of veteran units with special steps here, and we have a lot of guns and T-34s, and so we have a lot of units that we can actually use. Even as I've said, the standard guns are pretty decent, or roughly decent, so they can be at least used. And by the way, if we can get a one-on-one trade, we will almost always take it. And if we can get a two-on-one trade, so we lose two and the enemy loses one, with a standard like infantry unit, we also are almost always gonna take it. And we receive a lot of reinforcements. Every turn there are 6 infantry step reinforcements coming all throughout the scenario. And I think in turn 3 we receive 2 cavalry divisions. One of them is going to be veteran and quite powerful. The other is going to be under strength, so not really interesting. The Germans receive nothing in this scenario, and as the description said, as you can see it yourself, they're quite depleted. So a lot of them have 3 or 4 steps, or actually I think all of them only have 3 or 4 steps. A lot of them are dug in, so that's a problem. Obviously, entrenched units are quite strong. So even though this Großdeutschland motorized division only has 3 steps, it's veteran and dug in, and don't underestimate it. It's actually can tear all of our, or almost all of our units to shreds, basically. So even in this weakened state, we need to cut off at least most of the enemy from supply in order to succeed. Obviously, really weak units like the security units here in the back are of no consequence. We are stronger than them, or at least equivalent. Another thing is that we receive air assault and partisan activity as well, which means that you can capture any hex, almost any hex on the map. You cannot capture victory hexes, obviously, even if they are unoccupied. And if you do that well, then actually after a few turns they will connect. So if you capture both sides of the roads, you cannot capture road hexes. You cannot directly cut off supply. But if you use all of these actions to bunch up your captured area, then you can actually use it to cut off supply. That's why the Germans have security units in the back, so they can clear it out. You get to capture 3 hexes per turn like this. We get a lot of Katyushas. Well, the Germans don't really get anything. They get a pioneer unit here for the 87th Infanterie Division, 87. Infanterie Division. But other than that, it's just veteran, highly depleted tank formations and a few motorized divisions standing in our way, and of course entrenchment. So let's take a quick look at the map. We don't need to look at it for too long, as you will see, because we've seen all of this already. So we have 4 objectives to hit, and they're all quite close to our front lines. They're only a couple of hexes away, and we have so we have quite a lot of time to capture them, but it's still required. So the Soviets do not advance like the Germans do when they push. First objective to hit is Plavsk. Push towards Orel and create a gap between Moscow and enemy forces in this area, to be taken by the end of turn 5. Right here in the south. All other objectives need to be taken by the end of turn 6. So we have Volokolamsk in the extreme north. Strike hard to relieve the threat to Moscow from the north. Then we have Kaluga in the south, or middle rather. Kaluga is an excellent starting point for further offensives towards the west, as it protects the bridgehead across the Oka River. And finally, we have Mozaisk. Push the enemy away from this location on the main approach to Moscow. And you already can see that this is a map that we have already seen, right? So this is Typhoon, or rather the area that Typhoon covers. So what the creator of this game did is that he mapped the whole area of where these battles took place. So the whole area covered by the Eastern Front, rather. And several of the scenarios take place at the same location. Obviously, the victory hexes are different. So Volokolamsk and Kaluga were not, and this Plavsk were not victory hexes for Typhoon, but Mozaisk was, by the way. But the terrain is identical, so I'm not going to spend any time talking about this one, because, as I've said, it's literally identical. So we've seen this one. This is Bryansk. This is where we forced the crossing with the Germans. If you remember Tula, the battles around Tula and Kaluga. Tula is in our hands because historically the Germans never captured it. So it's the same deal. We are standing in front of Moscow, basically. Supply is interesting. It's different and it's interesting. We have 3 supply sources. Let's start with the south. We have one that is not on road, so it's off road, and it won't reach very, very far. And the other 2 are on the road, but as you know from this map, all roads converge on Moscow. So basically what you can say is that Moscow is the source of our supply. And that's a bit problematic in the south. The first time I tried this scenario, and by the way, this is the second attempt, it's not a very difficult scenario. The first time I tried it, the Germans managed to disrupt the supply, and this one is not sufficient either. So they managed to cut us off from supply, and we just got depleted, and the whole thing crumbled. But other than that, it's actually fine. The Germans have supply sources on the roads. All of them are 8 with a range of 8, except for this one, which has a range of 10. And the way to play this map is to strike, to cut through somewhere in the defenses and send at least one fast-moving unit ahead. And now you're going to say that this sounds exactly like the Blitzkrieg strategy, but it differs from a couple of ways. In a couple of ways. First of all, that unit is usually forfeit, or you should be ready to sacrifice it. It's only going after the supply. So usually when you send your tanks forwards, they also can attack, and they are there to capture victory hexes. However, in the Soviet maps, they're usually only used to cut off supply, capture supply sources, etc. So they're not there to fight; they're just there to disrupt the enemy. And when the Germans run out of supply, obviously then they're worthless. So then we can just clean up. And normally the other units just have to hold, which is not easy, by the way. So as I've said, around this area, the Germans can try a push, and on this supply route as well. And they can easily be successful. So you have to watch out and not throw away too many units, because like I've just said, you can lose the map like that. This is a crucial supply source here, and so the Germans have this bulge here on the east of Tula, which they're going to give up, by the way. But our idea is to cut off the road here, and to also cut them off as well as we can. Oh, I haven't mentioned we have precisely one SS division against us. The 2nd Division Das Reich. It's only 4 steps strong, and it's veteran, but it's a motorized SS division. You have nothing that matches up to against it, so either you throw quite a lot of relatively valuable units at it, or you cut it off and wait till it runs dry, and then you can just mosh it off the map. Obviously the second option is the better, but if you do that, then be prepared that it's going to fight very hard until it gets taken out. And that's another thing, when playing with the Germans, the Soviets don't usually attack, or at least not much, so you can count with your relatively decent units to not get attacked. It is no longer the case. Obviously the Soviets are going to be under heavy fire constantly, and and as I said, even our best units are no exception for that, because their best units can beat us. So let's see how it turned out. I first used the partisan special action because it's fun and because it's something new. In the first turn you cannot connect them, but that's fine. And as you can see, our attacks are extremely costly, but this is something that I'm willing to do here, because throwaway unit, because we need to push through here. And fortunately this air attack was extremely successful, so even completely depleted, this unit doesn't get destroyed, but finally it was still entrenched. And as I've said, I almost always take a one-on-one battle, and this allows me to rush ahead with this tank division and this cavalry division. And by the way, most of our tanks are attached to cavalry divisions or motorized, so that's the only tank division we have per se. In the north, the great part is that our units equipped with guns are actually quite okay, especially against standard infantry units that are not entrenched. So they trade very well, and I used that one. This was a more promising. So I don't know if you saw this, but this was a very costly battle here. I removed this tank unit. It's great to remove it. It's great to to strike ahead. And this one promised a 1-on-1 or 2-on-1 losses here, but as you can see, that was a lie. So we lost 3 steps. That was quite painful. This was better. I mean, I'm fine with taking out an enemy completely to suppressed for 1 active step. And here I use the other air attack. This also works out well. So if we can cut off this unit, which shouldn't be that difficult now, then we're okay. Right. So as I've said, this is going to be more of a bloody battle here, but whenever we can trade efficiently, we will do so. Right. So what's crucial here is to protect this supply route. As I've said, I lost one match because of this, so don't do that. This is perhaps our best unit, and still it barely holds it, or this one because it's veteran. And as you can see, our best units barely hold their own against the enemy. And obviously the reinforcements are standard level experienced troops, so it took down our experience level to standard, but that's fine. It probably gets back to veteran easier. And this was a misclick. It's simply a misclick, so don't do this. Don't attack an entrenched formation. Yes, you won't be happy about it. We're just preparing for the next turn now, mostly. As I said, a one-on-one trade is practically always preferable, so it works out. This was painful, but it still was quite okay, because then this tank unit is dead, so it was not that bad. And we try to remove that German tank unit, and we can. It's relatively costly, but it's fine. Now in the south it gets more interesting. We want to cause damage, obviously, and we want to scare the Germans off, and we also want to cut them off, kind of. So the more we can threaten them, the better. You should make sure that they don't capture this supply source in the east. And this one is of no importance. You cannot break through here. You cannot break this force here at all, so that's fine. And yeah, and as you could see, unlike with the Axis forces, we couldn't advance far anywhere. Here we managed a breakthrough, which is great. So this was very successful. Otherwise, we just whittled some of them down. But the Germans are outnumbered and don't receive reinforcements, so so they should go down slowly. All right. These security troops take up better positions, actually really truly superior positions to use against us if we advance, but we don't need to advance that far, so it's not really important. And now, of course, in the south they realize the threat, and the AI wants to make sure that it blocks us off from capturing their supply, and also from capturing the victory hex. This, if you recall, this one is the first one due by the end of turn 5, so I'm not saying we need to hurry, but this is the first one to capture anyway. So they simply don't have enough units in the south to block us off completely and effectively. So this is the front where you can advance the most. And yeah, and the AI does this thing that it attacks after moving almost all of its units. And fortunately, on the defense, we are quite decent. I mean, our best units can hold their own. Yeah. So, but these trades are excellent. So this one fled because it's a coward, but one-on-one trades are always good. We outnumber them, so obviously attacks like this don't help the AI. So as long as we destroy anything of their own, then they are fine. Besides, the AI attacks only with the strongest units usually, so that means that their most valuable units suffer casualties, which it cannot afford. So so I'm happy about most of these attacks, obviously not the ones where only we suffered casualties. And yeah, it's trying to build up another final front line in front of the victory hex, but as you will see, this is not really going to work out so well for them. We are already beaten and bruised a bit, but so are the Germans. So this is a kind of a battle for attrition until we get a breakthrough and we cut them off. That's the point. So first, once again, we start with the partisans, and now it connected, which is great. I just want to make it even more secure. So that means that in their next turn, the Axis forces the Germans don't get supply from here, from the south, which is not important at the moment. But if we can cut everything else off, then it's going to gain some importance. I really don't dislike this Pioneer unit. Obviously, it's the best one the Germans have here, or one of the best. So I really want to destroy it. And as you know, don't attack with these units after moving, as I've mentioned already. So we're just preparing for our next assault. The AI had to leave this whole front alone, practically, abandon this front in order to get up, better positions, or so to speak. And this allows us to push here. And don't forget that your best units are not the tank divisions are pretty worthless, by the way. Your best units are the ones with special steps, so the experienced ones, the veteran ones with Katyushas or T-34s are actually pretty decent. So against standard and not entrenched German units, they actually can deal pretty decent damage. Alright, another thing is that don't headbutt into the enemy unless you absolutely have to. We cut off these units, which means that soon, they only have one more turn to attack, and afterwards they're gonna get progressively weaker. If you can keep having them cut off, then you can just use weak units to kind of box them in and remove them from the map later on. These units are very strong still in their depleted state, so use this strategy. And now we use air attack. This is a weak position, relatively. It's not dug in. It is in a forest, and they get an ungodly amount of bonuses for forests, but the air attack was quite good, so we can push through, and of course this is not a dangerous unit now. Nor is this one in the north, so we get to destroy it as well. And as you can see, the enemy is already crumbling. This is something to consider. And we are pushing. They cannot really act against it, and for instance, you might have, if it was the other way around, this would have been a pretty disastrous attack. 3 active steps from one of our best units against 3 suppressed. But this was actually great, because this tank division is totally worthless now. We remove it, so it was a one-on-one battle in reality, and that's, as I've said, that's always one that you should take if playing with when playing with the Soviets. We need to secure our supply line, but once again we have, the enemy withdrew from here. We can just move ahead, and I don't care about this unit, even if it's attacks. I don't think it can move, and this reshuffle is so that we can secure our front line better. I want to remove this tank unit. It doesn't go very well, as you can see. Yeah, so make sure to stay in supply. These routes are pretty bad in that sense, and whenever you can destroy weakened German units, definitely take the opportunity. And we are pushing ahead as well. You can actually reorganize units, and the steps will arrive, so you can reinforce with a lot of steps on your turns. I don't know the exact limit, but whatever. And now the Germans are not cut off, or at least, there are some units that are, obviously, but overall, and here as well, but overall their situation is relatively stable, but their numbers are dwindling and they're not getting reinforcements. Unfortunately, this unit manages to clear out the whole patch that we just built up, so that was kind of worthless, unfortunately. And they already see that we are getting close to their objectives. We still have 4 more turns to capture them, at least apart from the southern one. So their situation is pretty bad. And their units are getting weaker, so any damage we cause is permanent for them. And yeah, so if you make good trades, then you will just win by attrition, by virtue of attrition. This is not good, obviously, but by the next turn this tank unit hopefully won't be able to attack, and we can cut off this one as well. So even though it officially managed to reconnect, well, not totally, but you know what I mean, is that this is not gonna work out for the AI, fortunately. Yeah, so we get a lot of punishment, and this unit unfortunately got cornered. That's really unfortunate. But the enemy doesn't even have enough units to capitalize on the small gains it does, like it broke through in some places, etc. So it's really slow progress. This was an excellent attack. I mean, excellent defense rather. We removed the Pioneer special step. I was extremely happy about it. And now we're back on our turn. If we can just cut off this wedge here somewhere, then these units will start to become worthless very soon. So that's a priority. We obviously want to remove the weakened infantry unit, and this should go without a problem, and it does. We didn't even suffer casualties, so this is actually great. And soon you're gonna see what I'm talking about. Now, this is the moment. So once we have taken these areas of control of these units, then we just send this cavalry unit ahead and cut off their supply. Their supply can only come from the north, which is relatively far. So here they might still be in supply, but if we move up against the Oka River as well, then we'll be fine. Here, the supply would have to cross the river, so that's not going to happen. And I don't even care if this unit gets destroyed. If it gets the job done, all of these units will be totally worthless in a few turns. We will still be in time, by the way. And I already start to whittle away at the victory hacks. This doesn't work out well, but this attack does. So this is one of our best units with our T-34 special step. Unfortunately, I couldn't push any more units there, but it's not going to get resupplied, and the AI doesn't move its units out of the victory hack, so it's going to be basically this front line is already broken, and in a few turns we can just mop up, and we can already focus on Kaluga. Kaluga is the most difficult one to capture. It's in a river bend. It's in a relatively inconvenient position, and these units the units around this area need to capture both Mozaisk and Kaluga, and I actually recommend you allocate forces to the south as well, because the ones in the middle won't be able to capture both. And here was another crucial move. Here we managed to cross to the other side of the Oka River, and that's important for a number of reasons. First of all, they cannot defend their line here because they won't be able to dislodge this unit. So we have a bridgehead on the other side, and as I've said, these units are totally cut off. So all we need to do is wait, and they'll be totally worthless. I want to remove their bridgehead because it annoys me that they are sitting next to our supply line, and as you can see, it's not going perfectly, but at least we are making some progress. And threaten, yes, so create as much havoc as you can. 2-on-1 with a standard unit is an acceptable trade. Some more reorganization and some partisans. Partisans are fun to use. It's totally free, and yeah, it can be very effective. Alright, we're getting close to the victory hex, and here's another important move. We cut off this supply line, and the AI still has this bridge connection, but if we can sever the bridge connection, then these units also will start to run dry. So this is what you need to do. And yes, so that was it basically. At this moment, these units are also cut off, or at least the northern ones, so the one in the victory axe and the SS, the more important ones. And I position this unit here so that it's on, it's protected by the river. If this security unit dares to attack it, it has a Katyusha and it's on the other side of a river, so it's not going to work out well for it. And a chance presented itself, a good opportunity to remove this unit. It was a bit costly, but it was a good German unit which could have remained in supply, so I think it was worth it overall. Right, we are just using our guns to make one-on-one trades. As I've said, you should always take them. Makes us, proceed more quickly. And I leave this unit here. I don't really care. And we spawn the 2 divisions that I've said we would receive. These are the only 2 divisions we receive as reinforcements, by the way. So in this stage of the war, the Soviets don't receive that many reinforcements. And here it is once again. We managed the breakthrough. The infantry units didn't really stand a chance. I mean, yeah, so this was their front line. As you can see, it's practically worthless. These standard infantry units are not even dug in. So the trick is this, that since the enemy is so much outnumbered and depleted, you will always find the weak spots, and you just punch through there and rush ahead and cut them off from the supply. You won't be able to defeat their strongest units on equal terms, so don't even try like this. It wasn't even equal terms, and yet we still failed. So don't even try. I removed the special step from this unit because I'm afraid it would get destroyed. I couldn't disband the whole unit because it attacked this turn already. And attacking this one with a veteran unit would still have been costly, by the way. Was promising to be costly, so I didn't do that. Because it sits in the forest, that's why. So here again I'm only taking trades that are favorable for us, and I don't care. Some of these units won't be even be able to attack on the Germans' turn. And again I remove the T-34 so that it doesn't get lost if this unit gets destroyed. So try to micromanage them that way as well. And yep, the Germans start their turn. These three units are totally out of not totally, but they're out of supply enough so that they cannot attack, so they are not dangerous anymore. And as long as we can keep them out of supply, next turn we can just remove them. The other units are dangerous, and for some reason the AI decides to capture our supply hex, which is of zero consequence. Well, not zero consequence. Some of these units won't be resupplied, which is fine. But if we can reconnect the road the next turn or get them back to supply, that's fine. Even if we don't really do that, if the Germans run out of supply and we can mop up this whole front line, then this was a futile move, and in fact it removed one of their better units from the battlefield. So that's also great. This was a pointless move here. This achieved nothing. I think I wanted to get the I think the AI wanted to threaten this unit, but it couldn't. So next turn it won't be able to attack, so I don't care if it sits next to it. Not dangerous. I don't know why the AI does this. I know it's a forested area, so it's a good front line, but we're just gonna cut them off. So yeah, I know it recaptured it, but if we can cut them off, then they actually walked into a trap. Didn't even fall into a trap, literally walked into it willingly. And we are taking losses here and there, but as I've said, I don't really mind because our strategy is working. Now we get cut off, but again, don't care. I know it looks relatively bad, so it's not clean, and you would think that it's like the enemy still has a relatively good chance, but not really, because in the next turn none of these units will be able to attack. None of them. These will be totally worthless, and the ones that get totally depleted will be just crushed, mopped up, and we can even move our valuable units away from here because you don't need them to do anything, to be honest. And yes, it's going to be turn 5, so we need to capture this point. It's protected by a totally depleted unit with 2 steps, so it's not a dangerous proposition. And again, you can literally hold it with anything. The Germans won't be able to attack it with literally anything, so it's fine. I tried to cut them off again from their supply with our partisans. And I send them here. I thought that this was a more crucial, more important road to block, so that's why I decided to not expand on this one. We move up against the tank. Next turn it won't be able to attack, and afterwards we just wait until it gets depleted and remove it. And of course we remove the ones that we can, because that's fun, like so. This was even overrun, so yeah, so we can destroy several of them. And the idea was here to reconnect the road, and as you can see, it's going relatively well. So if we can connect up to the road, then our supply is fine. And the next, and as I've said, the most difficult one to capture. Oh, and I'm sorry, it's only turn 4. So yeah, we still had time. So it was captured on turn 4, and we still have a few turns to capture this one. But we want to kind of rush ahead if we can. And this was very costly. We even lost the T-34, but at least this unit is now totally out of supply. So this is painful, but at the very least we get to do this, and now it's no longer a threat. And we don't get to capture it, if I recall correctly, but that's fine. I actually can use this unit to bash at this one. And yeah, these ones are not strong enough to offer up real resistance. This one is totally depleted, and I'm braver now because the next turn they won't be able to attack. So yep, so these units can just, you know, stay there. I put the horses back to the river front. And at this moment, I know that I don't even need to allocate more forces here, because the next turn they won't be able to attack. It's going to be turn 5. We still have time to take it, so we can wait until they get totally depleted, to be honest. And so it's of no consequence. These units are dead and not dangerous at all. Here we still need to capture Mozaisk, and Kaluga is empty, so the only threat remaining is this one. The idea is to cut them off once again. So as you can see, the AI bunched up these units here, but it's of zero consequence. These are not threatening or anything. And with this move, with these two moves, the two things that were achieved was that these units got also cut off from supply, and our partisans actually helped. And with this move, not only did we capture Kaluga, but we also are holding the river in supply, by the way. We can get cut off, but we don't care. And these infantry units are totally trapped. They're worthless, and in 2 turns from now, they can't even attack anymore. But even if they do, their chances are not very good. They're standard infantry units, so we're fine. I just try to hold the victory axe just in case. And already in the south, I'm removing units because I know I won't need them in the future. This one is kind of dangerous for our supply, so I decide to try to remove it, and this doesn't go excellently, but in the end we succeed, so that's fine. Yep. Here of course, Mozaisk is still kind of eluding us, but not so much, to be honest. We are pushing on it from all sides. And this was a horrible attack. The AI was sitting in a forest, and even a depleted unit like this can hold its own against one of our best units if it sits in a forest. Unfortunately, we captured their strongest supply source completely, so that you know, just in case. Alright, now it's turn 4 for them. As you can see, these units, none of these can attack, and some of them are totally dead basically, so only a few active steps remain overall to be removed. This unit also cannot attack. It won't move. It's happily sitting on its worthless supply line. Here in the north, these units cannot attack, and all of these units are cut off, although they can still be active. And the AI realizes the threat, but cannot really do anything about it. Okay, it cuts us off, so again, they still can be threatening in their own way, but soon that's going to change. Right, it didn't even take that long, right? So it's turn 5. Unfortunately, this unit, one of our best units, cannot attack because it was truly cut off. But other than that, in the southern front, there is nothing to fear. We can just, you know, do this. And this is when things really turn around, when the superior German forces are cut off, and then they become totally worthless. And you can, as I've said, you should always even take one-on-one trades. I don't care about this one as well. Next turn it's going to be literally out of supply, and we'll be able to wash it off. I want to clean out this area so that we can move away completely, and I definitely want to, you know, do something about this one so it doesn't get resupplied across the river or something, and I might be for a surprise. Anything can hold this victory axe. Literally nothing is threatening it, so we don't care. We just need something to hold it, but this unit is excellent, by the way. And so, as you can see, in just this turn, the southern front line is completely cleared out. These units will be fully out of supply next turn, and we'll just, you know, finish them off just for fun. Here, the situation is okay. We are in supply coming from here, and the Germans are, but the Germans still stand, you know, a chance, at least something. Let's capture the victory axe in the north. This should not be a problem, and it's not. And let's capture it with literally anything, and the SS won't be able to do a thing. I don't care. This tank cannot do anything, by the way, so it won't be able to attack us in the back. And even if the security unit clears out the area, it will be too late for the victory hex. This tank alone won't recapture it for sure in time, so, and it also needs to resupply first. Alright, we can just use our partisans, well, somewhere I guess, so I use it here. It's not, didn't work out, but this did. Another supply source was captured. So only this one exists that is totally cut off, and this one that is, well, it's not cut off, but only at the river. So our situation is excellent. And now it's time to finish this off. We still have another turn, but only this one objective to hit, so why not try to hit it, right? After 2 air attacks, it's out of supply, and we got relatively lucky. The Red Air Force can be used reliably, by the way. And now we have 1. So this victory hex is open, so we just move in. We still had a whole other turn to finish this, and in the next turn, the AI would have had no units to attack. The only units that would have been able to attack were the security units, which are as weak as we are, so they're not a threat. Everything else would have been useless, and we could have just, you know, cleared them out, really cleared them out, like walk up to them and just mop them up. So if it had taken another turn to finish this map, then it would have been only this area might have survived, and I don't know, Rev and this unit perhaps for the Germans, maybe not even this one. So this was a crushing victory. This is how you play this scenario. So take good trades, favorable trades, but be mindful of the bad ones. Be ready for casualties when the AI counterattacks, and just rush ahead and create havoc. The AI simply doesn't, the Germans don't have enough units to take care of everything, so if you can just rush in the back, cut them off from supply, and just be overall annoying, then there is nothing it can really do against you, and then you will cause at least some of their units to collapse, which will free up more of your units, so you can create a kind of an avalanche, a snowball effect, and after a while it just crumbles. It's not a difficult map. As I've said, it's considered to be medium, but you need to play differently than with the Germans, and the only thing you really need to look out for is this supply route, which can be broken by the Germans, so be mindful of that one. Alright, this was the first Soviet scenario, and it was a lot of fun, and yeah, we captured everything well in time in turn 5 easily. So 1 turn ahead of time, and yep, this is how you do it. I hope that you enjoyed it as well. I thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.